I need you to listen carefully, because I don't know how long this recording, or whatever's left of me, will exist online. By the time you finish hearing this, the post might be gone again, scrubbed clean like it never existed. And if that happens, you'll have to decide whether you were just wasting your time, or if you've just inherited the curse I can't shake. It started with something so stupidly ordinary that I almost laughed at myself for being scared. A Reddit post. Not a video. Not some black market website. Not a deep web snuff file. Just a plain, ordinary thread. But I'm telling you, the second I opened it, I knew something was wrong. It felt like the text was staring back at me. You know how sometimes you'll scroll too late at night, and your brain tricks you into reading things differently? Like your own name hidden in the comments, or a sentence that shifts when you glance back. That's what I thought at first. That's what I wanted to believe. But no, this wasn't some brain glitch. This post knew me. I'm not exaggerating. It used my username. It mentioned details about my life that I've never shared online. And the worst part? The post didn't just appear, it disappeared. The second I clicked away, refreshed, tried to save it, gone. Like it had never been there. Like I'd imagined the whole thing. But I know what I saw, and I know what it said. I shouldn't be telling you this. Maybe if I keep quiet, it'll forget me, move on to someone else. But something tells me silence is worse. Something tells me it wants to be repeated. Maybe that's why I'm here now, whispering this into your headphones, hoping you're still with me, hoping you don't turn it off. Because if you do, you might miss the only chance to understand what's waiting for you. I wasn't supposed to see it, and you weren't supposed to hear it. It was just another night of insomnia. My apartment was quiet, too quiet, and the glow of my monitor was the only thing keeping me from drowning in that silence. You know how it is. You tell yourself you'll log off after one more scroll, but then you find yourself at 3 a.m., refreshing Reddit like the world depends on it. That night, I wasn't looking for anything in particular. Maybe a funny meme, maybe some random drama, maybe a new story on /nosleep to keep me company while the city outside slept. My desk was cluttered with old coffee cups and half-eaten snacks, the kind of mess that says, I live here, but I'm not living well. Everything about the scene was painfully ordinary, and that's why what happened next was so jarring. I'd been bouncing between subs, you know, the usual suspects, conspiracy theories, weird-ass threads, the kind of stuff you skim and then forget. Then I clicked into our /nosleep. Figured I'd kill a few minutes reading some creepy fiction before finally forcing myself to bed. Except what I saw at the top of the subreddit wasn't normal. The title didn't make sense. It wasn't clever or spooky. It was just my name. My actual name. Not my Reddit handle. Not some random coincidence. My real, legal name staring back at me in bold text. For a second, I just stared, waiting for my sleep-deprived brain to adjust the letters into something else. But no, it was there clear as day. A post that said, my name, don't look away. My first thought was that someone was screwing with me. A prank maybe. But who? I've never been the type to leave breadcrumbs online. I don't tag myself in posts. I don't share pictures with geotags. I don't even use my real name anywhere connected to Reddit. And yet there it was. Curiosity got the better of me. I hovered over the link, waiting for the preview text to pop up, but nothing happened. Blank. Almost like the site itself didn't want to show me what was inside. That should have been my cue to back out, shut the laptop, get some sleep. But you already know I didn't. I clicked. The second the page loaded, I swear the screen dimmed a fraction, like the glow itself had turned hostile. The post wasn't formatted like any Reddit thread I'd ever seen. No upvotes, no comments, no username attached. Just the text, sitting there in the middle of a void, waiting for me. And as soon as I started reading, my skin went cold. Because this wasn't just some creepypasta. It wasn't a random horror story typed by some bored night owl. It was about me. My neighborhood. My routine. Even the chipped mug of coffee sitting right beside me was mentioned, word for word. I slammed the refresh button, desperate to prove it was a hallucination. Maybe I'd been reading too long. Maybe my brain was tricking me. But the second I refreshed, the post was gone. Back to normal. New stories, harmless titles, people commenting about sleep paralysis or monsters in the woods. No trace of my name. No trace of what I'd just seen. I sat there in the dark, staring at the screen like it would explain itself. My heart was racing, and my hands were trembling, so hard I almost spilled the coffee, still cooling on my desk. It made no sense. None of it. But the thing about the internet is, once you see something, it's too late. It's already in you. I should have stopped there, logged off, pulled the covers over my head, told myself it was a dream. But you know how it works, right? Once you've had a taste of something forbidden, you can't just go back to normal scrolling. I had to know what I'd stumbled onto. I had to see more. That was the moment when every day stopped being every day. That was the moment normalcy shattered. The first thing I remember about the post wasn't even the words. It was the tone. Cold, detached, like someone typing without emotion, as if they weren't telling a story but documenting something inevitable. It started simple. You're awake too late again. You're reading this because you can't sleep. The coffee mug is half empty, and you keep telling yourself you'll get up and wash it tomorrow. But you won't. I froze. That line, it wasn't just close, it was exact. The chipped mug with the fading logo, the one I'd been nursing all night, sat right in front of me on my desk. My pulse jumped so hard I almost convinced myself I was imagining it. But I kept reading. You think you're alone. You think the room is quiet. But listen closer. The hum of your computer isn't the only sound. There's another, softer. You'll ignore it until it's too late. I actually leaned back in my chair, straining to hear anything over the whir of the fan. Nothing. Just the blood rushing in my ears and the faint traffic outside. But I swear, just then, the air shifted, like a pressure drop before a storm. The post went on. You're not reading this on r/nosleep. You never clicked here. This page isn't on Reddit at all. But you'll keep telling yourself it is, because the alternative is worse. Keep scrolling though. You need to see the rest. That's when I noticed something. The scroll bar. It didn't behave normally. Every time I dragged it down, the post stretched longer, like the text was being written as I read it. Sentences appeared in real time, flickering into existence, just before my eyes could focus. And then came the first direct strike. My username. Stop pretending this isn't about you. I actually muttered, "What the hell?" under my breath. My username wasn't anything special, just a random string with some numbers. I'd never connected it to my real identity. And yet, here it was, staring back at me in stark black font. I tried to screenshot it, but my computer froze. The screen capture shortcut did nothing, as if the system itself refused to record the evidence. I fumbled for my phone, snapping a picture, but the moment I opened the gallery, the image was black, just an empty void. I should have closed the laptop right there. But fear has a strange way of pulling you deeper instead of pushing you away. So I kept reading. The post changed tone then, slipping into something almost conversational, like it was addressing me directly. You're wondering how I know. You're hoping this is a prank. You'll tell yourself it's some elaborate ARG, or maybe a virus scraping your data. But it isn't. I know because I'm here with you. My hands went cold. I glanced around the room, ridiculous as it sounds, half expecting someone to step out from the corner. But I was alone, or at least I thought I was. The next line confirmed otherwise. Don't turn around. That was it. I snapped my head over my shoulder, unable to resist. Nothing. Just my messy couch, a pile of unfolded laundry, the window reflecting back the weak glow of my monitor. But for a split second, I thought I saw something shift in the reflection. A silhouette, a curve of a head, and then it was gone. My heart hammered, so loud I thought the neighbors could hear it. I told myself to stop, to slam the lid shut and cut the power, but my eyes kept dragging back to the screen. The post wasn't done. You'll never be able to show this to anyone. The second you try, it erases itself. That's why you're reading alone. That's why you'll stay alone. The lines blurred, flickered, like static on an old TV. And then, without warning, the post shifted again, this time describing things I hadn't even done yet. In a few minutes, you'll get up to check a lock on your door. You'll tell yourself it's just paranoia, but you'll do it anyway. And while you're gone, the screen will flicker. You'll think it's harmless. It isn't. That was when I shoved the chair back, rattling my desk, and stumbled toward the front door. I don't even know why I did it. Maybe to prove the post wrong. Maybe because deep down I knew it was right. The lock was fine, of course. Solid. Secure. But when I came back to the desk, the screen had flickered. Just once. A quick blink, like someone hitting a light switch. And the text was different now. "See, you did exactly what I said. You'll keep doing what I say. Until I'm finished." I whispered to myself, "This can't be real. This can't be real." Like a mantra, like saying it enough times would undo what I'd seen. But the words on the page only grew bolder. Don't lie to yourself. You're not reading a story. You're the story. And when it ends, so do you. That was where the post cut off. Mid-breath. Like it had more to say, but someone, or something, had yanked a cord. I scrolled down, frantic, but the rest of the text dissolved into static symbols. Gibberish that stretched off the page into infinity. And then, just like that, the entire post blinked out. Gone. The page refreshed itself, showing nothing but the usual threads and comments, like the whole thing had been erased. But I swear to you, I wasn't imagining it. I read those words. I saw them form, sentence by sentence. And they weren't just written for anyone. They were written for me. And now, maybe for you too. After the post vanished, the silence in my room became unbearable. It wasn't the normal silence of a late-night apartment, either. It felt pressurized, like the air itself was leaning against me. My monitor's glow seemed dimmer than before, the corners of the screen fading into a blackness that didn't belong. I sat there for a long time, mouse in hand, refreshing. Each reload gave me normal threads, campfire stories, arguments about writing quality, the usual sarcastic comments. But I couldn't shake it. That post had existed. I'd read it. And the worst part was the way it ended. You're the story. And when it ends, so do you. I told myself it was just some elaborate prank, maybe a targeted ad campaign, an ARG. But then my headphones popped. Not a loud bang, just a faint crackle, like someone had brushed against the cord. Except the headphones weren't even plugged in. The hair on my arms lifted. I leaned forward, and that's when I noticed something else, my cursor. It wasn't where I'd left it. Instead of resting in the corner of the browser, it hovered dead center, like someone else had taken control. I yanked my hand off the mouse, watching, waiting. The cursor twitched, moved half an inch, stopped. I slammed the laptop shut. The sound echoed through the apartment. Too sharp, too final. My reflection in the dark screen looked pale, gaunt, and for a second I swore its mouth moved before mine did. My phone buzzed. Relief washed over me. Finally something normal. I grabbed it, but the notification wasn't from any app one recognized. No number, no username. Just a blank sender and a single message. Stop refreshing. I dropped the phone like it burned. My stomach lurched as if the floor had shifted under me. This wasn't possible. No one had my number. Not connected to that account. Not connected to what I just read. Unless the post really had known more than it should. I tried to convince myself to laugh. Paranoid, I muttered. You're paranoid. But then the screen of my laptop, still closed, flickered once. The glow leaked out from the edges, like it was alive. I didn't sleep that night. I kept every light in the apartment on, sitting upright in bed, phone face down on the nightstand, ears straining for any sound. And I swear I heard it. A whisper. Not words exactly, but the rhythm of something speaking, like a voice caught between stations on an old radio. When morning finally came, I thought maybe the daylight would snap me back to normal. It didn't. My inbox was waiting for me, swollen with notifications, except they weren't real. Every message had the same subject line. You weren't supposed to click it. No sender, no body text, just that sentence, hundreds of times. I blinked, refreshed the page. Empty inbox. Not even spam. I thought about calling a friend, telling them the whole story. But how could I explain without sounding insane? Hey man, I clicked a Reddit post that knew my name, and now my electronics are whispering to me. Yeah, right. They tell me to touch grass, drink water, get off the screen. Still, I tried. I sent one DM to a friend online. Just, hey, did you see a weird post on /nosleep last night? Something that vanished. A minute later, they replied, no, You okay? I started typing back when a second notification appeared. Same friend, same thread, but the message wasn't from them. Don't drag them into this. I stared at the text, pulse slamming in my ears. Before I could screenshot it, the message vanished, replaced by my friend's confused typing bubble. I slammed the laptop shut again. This time, I didn't open it. That was the moment I knew it wasn't just on the screen anymore. The story was bleeding out into everything else. The next morning, I woke with the kind of hangover you don't get from drinking. Just exhaustion, dread, and the heavy certainty that something was waiting for me the second I touched a screen. I sat at my desk, staring at the shut laptop, like it was a bomb I had to defuse. Curiosity is poison. That's what I kept telling myself. Curiosity is how people end up dead in horror stories. But the thing is, I wasn't reading one anymore. I was living it, and living it meant I had to know. So I powered the laptop back on. The boot-up screen lagged, freezing for a heartbeat too long on the manufacturer logo. When the desktop appeared, everything looked normal at first. But the cursor was in the middle of the screen again, waiting. I told myself not to touch Reddit, not to go back. So of course, that was the first tab I opened. Nothing. No sign of the post. No trace of my name splashed across the feed. I even checked my account history. Every thread I'd clicked, every comment I'd left. It was clean. Too clean. Almost like the night before had been erased from Reddit's memory. That's when I thought of caches. Backups. The Wayback Machine. Google Archives. I typed the subreddit link into the search bar. Hands trembling. A cached page popped up, but the second it loaded, the formatting broke. Instead of archived threads, the screen filled with a mess of black squares and slashes, like corrupted code. At the very bottom of the page, one sentence cut through the mess. You think you're clever. You think you're safe if you look from the outside, but you can't hide behind glass. The browser crashed. Not just the tab, the whole application. My laptop wheezed, fan roaring before shutting itself off. I sat there in stunned silence. This wasn't a post anymore. This was a presence. It was aware. I tried again on my phone. Different network, different device. I searched /nosleep, scrolled until my thumb cramped. Nothing. But when I switched apps, my notifications were flooded again. Reddit pings, dozens of them, all from usernames I didn't recognize. Everyone said the same thing. You weren't supposed to click it. I tapped one. It led nowhere. The accounts didn't exist. At this point, I was spiraling. I jumped into Discord, looking for comfort from the only people who might understand. Online friends who lived and breathed internet mysteries. I typed it all out, what I saw, what I'd read, how it vanished. The chat lit up with laughing emojis. ARG, they said. Viral marketing. Maybe a creepypasta in progress. One friend joked, "Congrats, you're the main character, dude." But one message cut through the noise. A user I didn't remember adding, screen name just a string of numbers, pinged me directly. "Stop. Delete this. Don't spread it." I typed back instantly. "What do you know about it?" No response. Just the typing bubble flickering, stopping, flickering again. Finally, one last message appeared. "It's not a story. It's a door." Then the account vanished from the server list. Gone. I told myself it was someone trolling me, but my hands were shaking so badly I could barely close the window. That's when I noticed something new on my desktop. A folder I hadn't created, timestamped just seconds earlier. No name, just blank space where the label should have been. My stomach turned. I hovered over it, debating. If it really was malware, I'd already lost. If it wasn't, then it was something worse. I opened it. Inside were text files, dozens of them, each one named with a date, some in the past, some that hadn't even happened yet. I clicked the first. It described my life in cold detail. Wake up time, breakfast, work schedule. Every file was like that, small fragments of my existence, mapped out day by day. The future ones were worse. They listed events I hadn't lived yet, conversations I hadn't had. I clicked one marked with tomorrow's date. You will try to tell someone in person. You will regret it. I slammed the folder shut, heart punching against my ribs. Sweat slicked my palms. This wasn't an archive. It was a script, and I was following it, line by line. That night, I barely touched my devices. I sat in the dark, lights off, just listening. Every car that passed outside felt like a threat. Every creak of the building made me flinch. At one point, I thought I heard scratching at my door, slow, deliberate. But when I checked, the hallway was empty. I wanted to believe I was losing my mind, that this was all some sleep-deprived hallucination. But then my phone buzzed again, vibrating so hard it nearly slid off the table. I picked it up with shaking hands. A new message. No contact. No app. Just text glowing across the screen. You weren't supposed to click it, but since you did, don't look outside. And like an idiot, I looked. Through the thin slats of the blinds, I saw a figure standing on the sidewalk across the street. Perfectly still. No phone, no cigarette, no reason to be there at 3 in the morning. Just standing, facing my building. When I blinked, they were gone. I staggered back, phone slipping from my grip, and that's when I knew. I wasn't digging through a rabbit hole anymore. I'd already fallen in.
The figure outside haunted me long after it vanished. I kept replaying the image in my head, trying to rationalize it. A neighbor, a random passerby, maybe even a trick of the light. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. The message had told me not to look, and the moment I disobeyed, that was the first time I felt the story pressing against the walls of my life, stretching beyond the screen, and it wasn't about to stop. The next day, I left the apartment just to prove to myself the world still existed. The air was sharp, sunlight bouncing off car hoods, people walking dogs and sipping coffee like nothing was wrong. It should have comforted me, but instead it felt staged like a set piece. Everyone I passed seemed just a little busy, a little. The scripted then I heard it. My username, whispered, not shouted. A woman's voice as I walked past the bus stop. I froze. Nobody looked at me. A handful of strangers stared at their phones or fiddled with headphones. None of them moved their lips. I walked faster. Half a block later, I heard it again, this time from the mouth of a man handing out flyers. He didn't even break stride, just murmured it as I passed. My username, the one I thought was anonymous, slipping into the air like it had always belonged there. By the time I reached the corner store, I was trembling. I paid for a bottle of water, and the cashier didn't even look at me when he said, "You shouldn't have clicked it." His tone was flat, mechanical, like it was part of the transaction. I left the bottle on the counter and bolted. That night, I refused to open my laptop. I curled on the couch, TV blaring some mindless sitcom just to drown out the silence. But even then, the intrusion found me. My phone buzzed, a new Reddit notification against my better judgment. I opened it. It wasn't a post. It wasn't even a message. It was an upload, a picture tagged to my account. My living room, taken from outside the window. The curtains were drawn now, but in the photo, they weren't. I could see myself on the couch, phone in hand, mouth half open like I'd been caught mid-breath. I scrambled to the window, yanking the blinds shut so hard the plastic cracked. Nobody was outside, just shadows and street lights. The picture vanished from my account before I could report it. The next intrusion wasn't digital. Around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my apartment. Slow, measured. I crept to the peephole, holding my breath. The hall was empty, but the sound didn't stop. It circled, pacing. Then came the knock, 3 soft taps, barely audible. I didn't move. Another knock, louder this time, and then a voice, "Check your door." I staggered back, my chest seizing. That same phrase, the one the corrupted text had promised me. It wasn't just following me online anymore, it was standing on the other side of my door. I stayed there until dawn, every muscle locked, too scared to even breathe loud enough for whoever or whatever it was to hear me. When the sun rose, I finally found the courage to open the door. The hallway was empty, but taped to the wood on the outside was a single printed page, a screenshot of the post I'd read, complete with my name in the title. I don't own a printer. That day blurred into static. I don't remember eating, don't remember sleeping. My phone buzzed nonstop with phantom notifications, each vanishing. The second I tried to open them, every sound outside made me jump. By evening, I convinced myself I needed answers, not guesses, not half-baked theories, proof. So I logged back onto Reddit, hands trembling, and typed in a search I never thought I'd make. Disappearing posts. Thread after thread popped up. Deleted users, erased titles, stories about. People seeing things they swore were there 1 minute and gone the next. Most replies dismissed them schizophrenia, creepypasta, trolls. But one comment chilled me. Don't look for it. If it finds you, it's already delayed. I wanted to back away, shut the laptop for good, but then another notification pinged loud and insistent. The direct message. No username, no profile. Just blanked out. The message read, "You've been seen. Meet me." Attached was a set of coordinates. I stared at them until my eyes blurred. A real location, somewhere not far from my city. It was insane, dangerous, but as I sat there, with the blinds drawn and my heartbeat rattling in my chest, I realized I didn't have a choice. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't going to leave me alone. And if I wanted to survive, I had to confront it. I don't remember deciding to go. One moment I was staring at those coordinates on my screen. The next I was packing a jacket, slipping my phone into my pocket, and locking the door behind me. It felt less like a choice and more like a compulsion, as if the script I glimpsed in those files was still guiding my every move. The coordinates led me to the edge of the city, to a part of town I'd never had reason to visit. Abandoned warehouses lined the cracked pavement, windows boarded up, graffiti bleeding across the bricks. It smelled of rust and mildew, the air heavy with neglect. My GPS told me I was close, then it stopped working. The little blue dot froze in place, no matter how many times I refreshed. My phone buzzed just once and a new message appeared. "You're here." I nearly dropped the phone. The building before me was unremarkable compared to the rest in old office or storage space. Its front door chained shut, but a side entrance gaped open. As if waiting for me, every instinct screamed to turn back, but my legs carried me inside. The air was colder there, stale with dust. My footsteps echoed as I moved through narrow halls. The walls were lined with peeling flyers, half-torn safety notices, scraps of paper that fluttered when I passed. It was like walking through a mausoleum of forgotten warnings. At the end of the hall, the door stood ajar. Light spilled through the crack, pale and flickering. I pushed it open and froze. The room was filled with paper, stacks of it, spilling from boxes, taped across the walls, scattered on the floor. Every sheet was the same screenshots of Reddit threads, comments, usernames. Some I recognized, popular creepypastas, viral posts I'd seen before. Others were blank, just frames of text boxes without content. And then my eyes caught it, a printout pinned to the far wall, larger than the rest. My username, my posts, my words, transcribed and archived like evidence. But the page wasn't finished. At the bottom, the last line cut off mid-sentence, with the cursor blinking beside it. I stepped closer, my throat tight, and the cursor moved. Letters appeared, one by one. "You made it." I stumbled back, heart slamming against my ribs. The monitor on the desk flickered on, though I hadn't touched it. A blank Reddit thread filled the screen. No title, no comments, just the empty box. Waiting. Then, slowly, it typed, "Every story needs an ending." I whispered, "What are you?" My voice sounded foreign in that paper-choked room. The cursor blinked. Then, I am the archive. I keep what is erased. I keep what shouldn't exist. I shook my head. Why me? Because you clicked. The words burned into me. It wasn't a choice. It never had been. Clicking wasn't curiosity, it was consent. The paper rustled behind me, though there was no breeze. When I turned, I saw it. New sheets sliding out from between the stacks, falling to the ground. I bent down, trembling, and picked one up. It wasn't a screenshot. It was a transcript. My transcript. Word for word, everything I'd said to myself since reading the post. Even now, as I whispered, "This can't be happening." The words appeared on the page in my hands. The monitor chimed. "You can leave if you like, but the story will follow you, or you can finish it here." The cursor blinked, typed. My hands hovered over the keyboard, slick with sweat. I knew that whatever I wrote would become real. That was the rule here. The archive wasn't just recording, it was dictating, and I was trapped between obeying and escaping. I forced myself to back away, stumbling toward the door, but before I crossed the threshold, the monitor flashed one last message. The ending has already been written. The story will not stop with you. The lights cut out. The room plunged into darkness, and I fled, papers crunching underfoot, the sound of my own breath ragged in the stale air. I didn't stop running until I was back in my apartment, door locked, blinds drawn, but I couldn't shake the image of that blinking cursor, waiting for me to type dot and I knew deep down I hadn't escaped anything. I'd only delayed it. I thought I'd left the nightmare behind in that paper-strewn room, but it followed me home like a shadow stitched to my skin. The first sign was suddenly my laptop humming to life on its own, the screen glowing even though I hadn't touched it. There it was, the post, the same one I'd first read, resurrected from the void. Title, body text, comments exactly as I remembered. Only now it was under my account, my username stamped across the top like I was the author all along. I tried to delete it. The option was there, but every time I clicked remove, nothing happened. The button grayed out, then reset, taunting me. Worse, the post had activity. Notifications poured in, hundreds of upvotes, dozens of comments. I scrolled through them with shaking hands. Creepiest thing I've ever read. Is this real? Where's the ending? Don't stop now. Each reply felt like fuel, stoking the story higher, spreading it. My story, except I hadn't written a single word. That's when I noticed the timestamps. The comments weren't recent. They stretched back years, some dated from before I'd even made my account. It was as if the post had always existed, lodged in the bones of Reddit, waiting for me to discover it. And then, right before my eyes, the text began to dissolve. Line by line, word by word, the story unspooled into nothing. The title vanished. The body collapsed. The comments evaporated. I refreshed, desperate, but it was already gone. Not deleted, erased. A fresh message popped up in my inbox. Did you read it? I slammed the laptop shut so hard I thought the hinge would snap. My chest ached with the pressure of unshed panic, the sense that something irreversible had just happened. But the world didn't stop spinning. Morning came. People walked dogs outside, went to work, bought groceries. To them, nothing had changed. But I felt it everywhere, the absence, the hole where the story used to be. It followed me into conversation. Co-workers mentioned a weird thread they'd stumbled across, then trailed off mid-sentence. Unable to recall the details, friends texted me links that redirected to error pages, even online. I saw chatter, half-remembered fragments about a post no one could find anymore. Like smoke, the story lingered on their tongues, clung to their memory just enough to unsettle. And me, I carried the whole thing inside me, as if the words had branded themselves onto my bones. I was the only complete copy left. I tried once more to log on, to find some trace, anything that proved I wasn't insane. But all I found was a blank profile where mine should have been. No posts, no comments, no history, just a void, as if I had never existed on the site at all. Then, in the emptiness, a single message appeared. Stories vanish. Witnesses remain. The screen went black. I sat there, frozen, the glow of the monitor fading to nothing, and in the silence that followed, I understood what the archive had meant. The post didn't just disappear. It consumed. It rewrote. It moved on, and I was its vessel now. I used to think stories had endings, that you could close the book, shut the laptop, turn off the screen, and walk away. But that was before I understood what this thing really was. It doesn't end. The days since the vanishing posts have blurred together. Sometimes I hear whispers in the middle of the night. My username breathed like a prayer or a curse. Sometimes I wake to find scraps of paper on my kitchen floor, blank except for a single line of text, words I haven't spoken yet, but will. It's writing me ahead of myself. I tried telling someone once, my friend Jacob, the kind of guy who'd laugh off creepypasta as internet campfire nonsense. I poured everything out, every detail. He listened, eyebrows raised, then said, "Man, you really should write this down. People would eat it up." That was 3 days ago. His phone's been disconnected since. His apartment, empty. It's like he never lived there. I can still see his face if I close my eyes. But online, his accounts are gone. His name returns. Nothing, even his family's posts, photos, birthdays, tags vanished overnight. That's what happens when you get too close. The archive doesn't just erase posts. It erases people. And the worst part, it's clever. It doesn't take them all at once. It scrapes them out of memory piece by piece until you start to wonder if they were ever real in the first place. That's the future waiting for me. But here's the part I can't shake. I'm not the first to carry this story. I've seen the evidence, sold usernames, ghost threads, fragments buried in cached pages. Others tried to warn the world before me. That's why I found the post in the first place. That's why you're hearing this now. It's a cycle. Someone clicks, someone reads, someone becomes the witness, and when the post vanishes, The witness is left holding the weight until it finds the next host dot until you click. I shouldn't even be telling you this. Every word I say feeds it, gives it shape, makes it stronger. But silence won't save me. If the story wants to spread, it will. That's what stories do. They're viral, contagious. And this one, it doesn't just want attention, it wants permanence. You've heard it now. You know its rules. You'll start noticing little things, your feed glitching, threads vanishing, people mentioning a post they can't quite describe. Maybe you'll hear your name whispered on the street. Maybe you'll find a page taped to your door. And maybe, if you're unlucky, you'll get a notification with no sender. A message that just says, "Did you read it?" When that happens, don't answer, don't click, don't feed it. But if you do well, you already know how this ends.